a girl god with mommy issues, parry quick time event, and quality animation. What up y'all, it's your boy KAIZEN, the darker side of your DFO subconscious, telling you about my first impression of the Nabel raid. As a longtime DFO player who's gone through different raids multiple times, there's a lot of ways I could break down in this raid. But in my experience, I gotta give it to the game's visuals and familiar gimmicks. It's inevitable to not recycle old gimmicks and make them look new for future raids. To be able to make them subtle enough for my smooth, puzzle-solving brain to figure out on the get-go is impressive. It's also satisfying when I figure it out using years of seeing similar patterns and conditioned into thinking green is good and red is bad. Sure, there are plenty of other gimmicks in this raid that I'm completely clueless about, and there are other gimmicks that aren't necessarily recycled or familiar, but provide enough context clues to give you an idea on how to maneuver through them. Enter the guard mechanic. It's a Nabel raid exclusive mechanic that made a few appearances in DFO, most recently Exceed in the level 110 cap and Memories of Triumph in the level 115 cap. Guard allows you to block an instance of any incoming attack, including special attacks, which in this raid are visually coded as purple. You start off with 3 charges of guard and slowly recharge after spending one. Successfully guarding a special attack refunds a charge of guard. It's a quick time event minigame included in this raid and adds an extra layer of depth and challenge, while also being rewarded for successful timing, extra damage, or simply getting to walk away scot-free. Raid mechanics, on the other hand, are a different story, but for the sake of the review, here's my very skewed, very quick, and dirty assumption of how it works. So there's a timer that's affected by Nabel. There are sub-bosses that function as HP locks for her, damage reduction for the enemies, and respawn timers for other things. And there's also buffs that some bosses unlock that provide extra damage to certain bosses. Also, if the main boss is awake, then the timer will run faster, and towards the very end, every party gets to fight Nabel. I think that's it, right? Right? To the best of my knowledge and how well my porous brain could absorb, the lore of Nabel is that she's the darker side and the shell of our previous raid boss, Mu, the god of memories. In this raid, we then enter the memories of Nabel, try to resolve the literal internal conflict she had in the past, by battling android scientists, anomalies, and of course, herself. The motif follows this too really well with lasers, numerous tech visuals, and gives off a very cyberpunk / Tron vibe to the raid. The boss's attacks also follow this motif nicely as well. Lots of electricity based attacks, cybernetics based movement, and telegraphed gimmicks that made me do a double take just because of how sci-fi the whole thing was. But that could also be seen as a negative impact to the gameplay. This whole sci-fi motif could be visually chaotic, especially when you're running the raid blind, and also especially if it's your first time in the game. I could understand if you're not gonna capture even half of what's going on throughout the whole thing. I'm pretty sure it's one of the golden rules of gaming where green is good and red is bad, and that kind of video game common sense could definitely carry some weight when it comes to gimmicks. I've been on the DFO raid scene for a while, and it still took me time to track what does what, she goes where, etc. The visuals are definitely mesmerizing, and the aesthetics gave me multiple moments of pause just to admire and appreciate what DFO's feeding my eyes. Not to mention the art style of the environment and the bosses themselves. One can see that they drew inspiration from the likes of Ghost in the Shell, Evangelion, or even Gundam. At least I did. And if you told me they did, even though they didn't, I'd still believe you. Those are my first impressions with Nabel, given my limited time with the raid and how late this video took to make. Personal affairs aside, Nabel's got some sweet gameplay that's both high in quality, creativity, and quantity, in terms of attacks and patterns, which in my opinion would make it all more worthwhile once I put in a couple of clears in the raid. Not even lag could stop me from clearing quick time events. But it can stop me from, well, playing the rest of the game. It's your boy KAIZEN, and I hope I can Nabel some of you to confidently take this on, solo or with a group.